Hello everyone and welcome to the last video of the course Zbrush Basics. This video will be a bit different since we are going to go through a review of all the tools we covered on the previous videos. We'll try to apply them on a kind of a complex project this time, and a sculpture I was working with for the Game Fest carried out this year. First, let's review the tools panel and all the options it offers. Options we had a look to on previous videos. Let's start with the subtool option. I mentioned that for complex projects, the most recommendable is to use different objects located in different subtools. That way, the job could be done with more ease. As you can see, this project has got 8 subtools. The head, eyes, hair, all objects in an independent subtool, in order to have a more stable workflow. I've also used the geometry panel. At the beginning I didn't have all these subdivisions. All I had was something like this, like what you can see here. I only started adding subdivisions when it was required, when I needed some more details for creating my character. I didn't start adding all the subdivisions available, since that would make the job slower and cause lots of problems. If I had started adding so many subdivisions, I would probably have lost time, since a fix on a low subdivision level could affect a lot the details on higher subdivision levels. And that's something I should be really careful with. Reason why I only add subdivisions when it is required. For those times when the project got too heavy, I normally take the subdivisions to their minimum so I could move the interface faster. Only for the case on whatever I was working with, I applied the highest subdivision level, but I kept everything else on the lowest subdivision levels for working faster. Obviously, I also worked on the deformations. I mentioned those options are really useful. One in special, for instance, for making these pores, I use the noise we find below here, on the deformation panel. I'll give you a little demonstration on this area. I used masks for protecting certain areas. Sometimes when the mesh is too heavy, it is a little difficult to control, but let's try. This was the process I made use of. The base I used for starting to create the pores. And thanks to the masks, I could protect certain areas. Reason why the head over here is clean, while the pores are set on the face. As you can see, it's got a good texture. In some cases, when I didn't need the pores to be so prominent, all I had to do was to press Shift, and a different brush shows up here, called Smooth. What it does is to smooth areas, as you can see. Zbrush doesn't remove the details, it simply smooths the surface. It looks like the pores are being removed, but it's actually making them look really subtle. As you can see here, they are really subtle. That's the method I implemented to avoid getting all the face filled by pores. I just wanted some areas to look more prominent than others. I started this sculpture from a sphere, and what I've done, for instance, to generate the jaw, or the head, it was to use taper. In order to compress part of the sculpture, I used a mask for protecting. Let me show you here. I had to set the right axis, in this case X, and then I started resizing the shape. Using this technique, I was able to make the jaw. Of course, I could have generated this shape by using Move. But as you work on digital sculpting, you'll find your own way to generate the shapes you desire. I also use the brushes a lot. You might be able to remember the basic brushes I showed you along a couple of previous videos. Those were the 6 brushes I used for creating this character. Let's see an example. These lines here of the wrinkles, as I told you, by using them standard, we could create them. What I did was to apply some irregular strokes and when I got two prominent cuts, all I had to do was to apply pinch. As you can see, we get more realistic wrinkles that way. I use different values for intensity, size. Sometimes I added geometry, some other I removed it. Depending on what I needed, I used inflate a lot on these wrinkles. As you can see, it provides some extra touches. The same over here. As I worked, I used the masks a lot. You could notice this file is quite complex. Sometimes I fixed the eyes and spoiled the eyebrows, or spoiled part of the nose, the wrinkles. So what I used to do, it was to create a protection mask. And then I proceeded to sculpt without spoiling the protected areas. If we check the polygroups, at the moment, everything is part of a single polygroup. Nevertheless, as I worked I separated the mouth, the eyes, the ears. Let's make a little test. This way I could paint an area, and the 3D view could run smoothly. For this head, as I added polygons, it became too complex to deal with, so it was useful to hide sections of the sculpture, for me to be able to paint and sculpt. The polygroups were really useful in this case. On this video, I won't show you all the techniques I used for generating this character. However, I wanted to show you that I used all the techniques covered in the course, and how they were applied for creating this character. I really hope you can take advantage of these classes on this course. They may seem too basic, but they truly are fundamentals for creating a sculpture. I hope you keep practicing. Make use of this knowledge for generating your own projects. Continue learning and practicing a lot. You will have to practice a lot in digital sculpting if you want to get really good results. But it'll worth it in long term. Hope to see you soon on coming courses. Wish you success on your learning process.